Guys and some burger places, but I'm guessing it wasn't that cheap. They had an actual decent lunch. Politico says that previous administrations have been asked what they think about this, and everybody's pretty much rolling their eyes. They're saying, really? Does anybody think that there is an ethical problem with having people in for lunch and then giving them a free lunch? Well, the Obama administration says, no, we are making sure that all of these people are paying.
Folks, you know, we did a story a couple of weeks ago and told you how some of the counties and the states are trying to become parochial, want to keep the business within the state if they can get it done in the state. Yeah, we have interstate laws and all the rest, but the idea is that the local people, if they're buying from the local people, it's sustainable. Washington, D.C. has had a program, used to be called Local Small Disadvantaged Business, located in an enterprising zone, up-and-coming zone. This is a program that got started by Mayor Marion Barry 30 years ago. But at that time, his focus was 30% of it will go to local minority businesses. And then there was a lawsuit in Richmond which said he cannot do that. Certainly the program got changed. And then it became a local business. Now, Mayor Fenty has come in. He wants to take a notch up. And he wants to tell all business in the District of Columbia, get yourself registered. Government buys a lot of items. They will buy it from the local businesses if they have the capacity and the professionalism that is required. Back 30 years ago, when there was not that much of a professionalism in up-and-coming community, I mean, we had to learn something. I was in it 30 years ago, you know. I did not know much about it. But today, I absolutely believe and defend this program, which is for local businesses. You know, there are a lot of companies that in the previous administration got registered because they had a sort of a hybrid system. Parts of it were in Washington, and the bigger development portion of it was in Maryland and Virginia. So what they did, they paid very few taxes. How do we, local businesses, compete with those guys? They already have an advantage of 10, 12, 13, 15% of the business of the government to be done by the local people. You don't need to go anywhere else to get it done. And of course, they have to be competitive. And competitive is one where I think if not everybody's looking at it the same way. I really think the best value that a government dollar gets is when they spend that dollar in town instead of spending with somebody else. It does not come back. But the dollar spent in D.C. comes back bigger than a dollar, maybe up to 1.2, 1.4.
Well, you know, I think 10 years ago, you used to see a lot more local businesses that were thriving. The Heckingers of the world, the IBW Bank in Washington were really starting to grow. And 10 years ago, they were really coming up. You don't see any of them.
They were coming up. They both went bankrupt.
And you don't see them at all anymore. But now people are making, you know, they make a lot of comments like you can't find a grocery store in some of the wards in Washington.
That's very true.
A lot of those grocery stores were kicked out when, you know, a Safeway moved in. When a big chain moved in, those small little grocery stores really left. And now we have a Best Buy and we have a Target up in Northeast. What is it doing to the small little entrepreneur who's trying to have a market in that community, trying to serve that community?
I think we have a market for Walmarts of the world and the Best Buys of the world, but as long as they're local, pay local taxes. I'll give you, for example, all the general contractors, you see Clark Construction, Davis, Siegel, Forrester, Whiting Turner, all of them are located outside of the district. But they do $1 billion worth of business in the district. Mm-hmm. That means they're taking away $1 billion. And folks, remember one thing, they issue checks from their head office. That means the unemployment tax goes to that state and not to D.C. Even though the guys are working in D.C., they're eligible to get unemployment in the District of Columbia, but they don't pay unemployment taxes. And that's what bothers me, because D.C. is taking all of these expenses, not realizing that that's where big money lies. You don't need to raise taxes. You need to collect taxes from some of these firms. Did you know that 40 to 60% of the firms that file tax returns pay a minimum of $100 tax? That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, it's a win-win for the D.C. government to be taxing these people and to keep jobs in Washington.
That's
it's
right.
It's a win-win.
That's right. In the small and local business development, it's a law that 51% of any new hires have to be D.C. residents, which is really what it should be, and that's what should be the driving factor. But we have a higher unemployment rate than the Maryland and Virginia. I have been harping on council members and telling them that, look, they should give 1099, and then they will find out how much of their money has a address other than D.C. And that's how they will find out where's the money going. I think it's about time D.C. puts it in 1099 for every dollar they give. They already do it for the employees with a W-2, but they should do for 1099 for all businesses other than W-2.
I think that's a great idea. I agree.
Thank you.
Many of you probably tune into YouTube when you have a little extra time to kill at your job, or when you're trying to go to bed at night, watching cute kittens play on pianos and whatnot. Well, now YouTube, who's trying to bill itself as the biggest news platform in the world, is bringing you local news. They will figure out what is local to you, where you live, and bring you your local news. I find this fascinating, since local news is really dying off because a lot of people don't want to see homicides and car chases that happen in their hometown. They want to get the bigger picture. YouTube is saying, we will feed you all of that news. But do you really want to have YouTube deciding what is news to you just because of where you live? What do you think?
You know, I'm biased, and I'll tell you why I'm biased. I don't know, folks, if you've checked out Darshan on YouTube. You know, we are there. Mm-hmm. And my daughter was showing it to me on her iPhone. Oh, the voice was clean, and the picture was good looking. I was sold. From now on my BlackBerry, I can see it on the YouTube.
You can. You can. You can get your local news on your phone through YouTube. And what YouTube is doing is 25,000 local stations were identified by YouTube and have been invited to participate in this localizing of news. 200 news outlets have signed up, and this story is going to get a lot more play as we're hearing about news being brought to you in different forms, because as you and I always talk about, the changing view of news and who carries it.
Now, let me ask you, how is this different than today if you were to watch channel 4, 9, 7, 5, whatever? They're always inviting people to say, hey, share your videos with us, and if it makes news, we give you something, or we'll give you credit, or whatever it is. How is it different than sending it to YouTube?
Well, there is something different in that. What the stations are asking for is citizen journalism. So if you see a car crash and you take out your camera and you videotape it and then you send it into the station, maybe